Hi there! Today we're going to be sketching the human nose. I guess you already know that just by looking at the title. Also, if you haven't seen it yet, I actually sketched the human eye in my last tutorial video. There will be a link at the end of this video in case you want to check that one out too. What makes the nose a lot different than sketching the eye, besides of course the differences in structure, is that the nose requires much more shading to develop its structure. So in this video there's going to be a lot of shading, so you will need a blending stump. If you don't have one, that's alright. You can go find one at Walmart, Amazon, Hobby Lobby, or just about anywhere that sells art supplies. They're very inexpensive and they're very valuable when sketching with pencils. In this video we're going to be using a mechanical pencil, an eraser, and a basic blending stump like I mentioned a moment ago. The reason I use these basic supplies is I want to use supplies people will just have laying around that they can just pick up and follow along with my tutorials right then and there. You don't need no special pencil set that you bought for $10, $20. You can start practicing with what you've got right there. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started on this tutorial in 5, 4, As you can see, these are the supplies I mentioned before. The blending stump is a pretty simple tool to use. You just brush it up against your shading and it'll blend it all together. When beginning, you want to start off with the most basic shapes that make up the nose. The shapes that make up the nose are rather simple. You just have a very narrow, long triangle, and then you have 3 circles. One for each nostril and one for the tip. Now the triangle will be helpful whenever you have to reference it for the bridge of the nose. You want to make sure that the center circle takes up the whole bottom of the triangle, that it reaches from each side to the other, and it is bigger than the 2 for the nostrils. Now that we have it mapped out, it's time to give it a bit more shape. For this part, follow along the best you can, but if you need to pull up a picture of a human nose to reference, that's fine too. To give shape to the nose, it's as simple as actually applying curves in the right places, such as between the nostrils and the tip, and the nostrils and the bridge, to kind of give the sides of the nose shape and to create the holes within the nostrils. Right here I'm beginning to work on the inner nostril. I'm actually applying a bit of shading to give it a little bit more depth. At this moment you're going to start erasing those basic shapes we drew at the beginning, but you're going to still need to leave a light impression so you can reference them whenever you go back to shade the nose. Alright, here's where we're going to be using that eraser. Now, I implore you to actually just lightly erase on the nose, because you're going to want these lines to shine through just a little bit so you can reference them later when you're going to do your overall shading to give the nose a bit more structure and curvature. Now that the proportions and the structure is established to the nose, we can move forward with shading. Generally, your shading is determined by your lighting, but in this case we're going to be determining it by the shapes. We're going to be using the shapes to give us some basic shading, and that's a good starting point whenever you're learning to draw the nose. Notice how I use the lines of what used to be the triangle to begin my shading to create the bridge of the nose. And then I treat each nostril and the tip of the nose as if it was a sphere, and I shade it as such. That's a great way to get a proper shading on your nose to make it look realistic. Be sure to take your time on this part. Proper shading is major when it comes to drawing the nose, and if you don't put enough time into it, you could end up affecting the piece's overall quality. The nose is one of the most noticeable features on the face, so you want to be meticulous about it, and you're going to want to do your proper shading, and you're going to want to have the proper shape, especially when you're drawing a specific person. If you mess up on the nose, it could change the overall appearance of the face. Now it's time to blend your shading. You're going to need to use that blender I showed you earlier. Now when blending, you're going to want to use light pressure against the lead. And you've got to be careful on how much it spreads, because you will have to go back over this with your eraser to clean it up a bit. During this process, if you see certain parts that need a bit more shading, don't be afraid to pull out that pencil and add on or take away with the eraser. This is your perfect opportunity to make adjustments to the nose. If there's certain qualities about the nose that you don't like, you can change them. That's not a big deal. Like for me, I didn't really like how wide the nose was, so I went ahead and narrowed the tip a bit, and I feel like that looks way better than it did before. If at any point during this video you get lost, be sure to pause it, go back a few steps, and repeat. It's all about practice. You're not going to get it perfect the first time. You got to accept that. But the more you practice, the better you'll do. When touching up with your eraser, you're going to want to be a little bit careful not to erase too much, because you don't want your shading to just cut off. You want to kind of have a gradient that leans into the light rather than just cuts off completely, because a smooth gradient will make it look more natural and realistic. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you were able to follow along okay. If there's anything that you think I should change in my tutorials, by all means leave a comment below. I would love to hear it. I'm always looking to improve, and I want to provide videos that you all enjoy that helps you. Be sure to keep on watching the video, because we're only halfway through. On the second half, we're actually going to be drawing the side profile of the nose. Alright, congratulations, you just made the front profile of a nose. Now we're going to move forward with creating a second pose of the nose from a more side profile. For the second pose, a lot of the steps are going to be repeated, so I'm not going to be putting in as much input. Alright, but enough of that. We're going to get started on the second pose of the nose in 5, 4... When drawing the side profile of the nose, I like to start off with a ramp shape, and then I like to add in my 3 circles just like I did in the front profile of the nose. And just like the front profile of the nose, I'm going to go ahead and add shape to it, do a little bit of line work. When drawing the side profile of the nose, you've got to be careful not to make the nostril on the opposite side too prominent. It shouldn't be too big, and it shouldn't be sticking out there too far. Just as I did with the front profile of the nose, I'm going to erase those shapes, but I'm going to reference them for my shading. Then of course I move on to my shading. Shading on this one is very much like the shading on the front profile of the nose. After I finish up most of my shading, I like to do a little bit of touch-up work, erase a few things, add a few things. After you've gotten all your touch-up work done, it's time to start blending it. While blending it, remember not to press down too hard and not to spread the shading too far, otherwise you're going to be using your eraser way more than you would have if you were just careful in the first place. And once again, we got to do a little bit more cleanup. When creating the nose, it's kind of difficult to get a smooth gradient when you're using a basic Bic pencil, but it is possible. You just got to put a few more layers of lead on there. And now that I'm finishing this up, I just want to say I'm really glad you guys checked out this video. I really hope you come back to watch some more. I'm coming out with videos every Monday and Friday, at the latest Tuesday and Saturday. Mondays are tutorials, Fridays or Saturdays will be art challenges and art projects. Thank you guys for checking this out, and I hope you like this video and subscribe. If you've made it this far, I hope you have a better understanding of drawing the structure of the human nose. Now, drawing the human face is no easy feat, so be sure to practice all the time to improve those skills. Trust me, practice does make perfect. You will improve. It works. I will be making another video for next week where I'm going to be drawing the human lips, and the following week after that of drawing the human face. So be sure to check back, and if you haven't yet, be sure to like this video and subscribe if it helped you out and you want to see future tutorials made by me. But until next time, this has been As Seen by Austin. I don't know about you, but I had a lot of fun with this video. I really enjoyed showing y'all how to draw the human nose. And if you'd like to get some artwork for yourself like the ones I do on this channel, be sure to check out my shop and type in that coupon code for an extra 25% off. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat to get updates constantly. And if there's a tutorial you'd like to see, be sure to comment below and let me know.